Do some Christians have an inferiority complex? Let's look at the life of Jesus. When Jesus came to the earth, when God came to the earth as Jesus, he was born as a Jew and a man. At a time when the Jews were under oppression from Rome. As you read through the Bible, you can see that the Jews were suffering from oppression and racism. So Jesus came up in a time under severe oppression and racism. All right? Now remember, Jesus is God, but at the time, Jesus was God. Right? At no point do you see Jesus showing signs of an inferiority complex or any kind of victimized mindset. What do I mean by that? There were times where no one around him treated like he was God, even his own disciples. And you don't see him going and being like, hold up, whoa, I'm God. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't, like, he couldn't even come and say, you know, treat me equal. Because he's God, so he really should have been treated superior. But he came down and became a servant of his own creation on purpose. At no point do you see him being like, yo, I'm God, yo, like, stop. Like, there was even times where they treated him like he was the devil. Treating God like he's the devil, accusing God of being the devil is crazy. It still happens to this day. He was so secure in his godhood, and even at times you can see he was so secure in his manhood. He was cool. He was level-headed. He didn't feel the need to demand to be treated a certain way. He didn't go to a group of people that he knew he was equal to on a man level and superior to on a God level, on a spiritual level. He didn't go to the group of people and demand equality or even demand to be treated like a king or the Messiah. He knew who he was. He knew what he was here to do. He stayed about his Father's business. That was his goal. He stayed focused. How he was treated by an individual or a group of people made no difference to how he felt about himself and the way he responded. At no point did he go to the Romans and say, Jewish rights, Jewish lives matter. Treat us with more dignity and respect. So if we take a lesson from Jesus Christ, which, right, we're Christians. The word Christian means to follow Christ. For those of us trying to live in accordance with the word, we got to ask ourselves, do some of us have an inferiority complex? If you find yourself going to another group of people to demand equality from that people, from that group of people, right? Then, for one, you need to ask yourself, are you really being oppressed and discriminated against, or is it all in your mind? For two, regardless of whether it's happening or not, should you just know who you are? Right? Whether you're a black Christian, a female Christian, a male Christian, a young Christian, whatever minority group you find yourself in. And in America, normally, when we're talking about minority groups, I'm guessing it's always in comparison to white males. I don't know why those two characteristics got picked and put together. And then let's talk about the minority groups. You got to ask yourself why things are the way that they are. You can't just always go along with stuff. But they decided to say, okay, the biggest group in America is based on this race and this sex, right? Like, if curly-headed chickens we're the biggest group in America, then, would you then, why wouldn't anything be based off of that, right? So ask yourself why, but regardless, all right? So that's what we call the majority, and everybody else is a minority for whatever reason. That fact is important. So if you find yourself going to the majority to demand equality, or some of y'all think you're superior, so you're demanding to be treated with superiority, do you really think that you're equal and superior? Because if you knew who you were on a spiritual level, and if you knew who you were on a physical level, it doesn't matter how you get treated. You can remain calm. Respond with the truth. Move on with your life. As Christians, stay about your Father's business. What are you supposed to be focused on? Just an interesting thought. What do you think? Some of us have minority complexes. When you look around and you see the focus of some Christians, what are we really focused on? I made a video the other day about John the Baptist and whether he was in line or out of line when he ended up in prison and beheaded, right? The Messiah just came. Jesus just came. Out of everybody in the world, you were prophesied about, knowing and preaching about the Messiah. He comes up. It's like, instead of becoming one of his disciples, you went off and decided you want to go point the finger at King Herod for marrying his brother's wife. So you're going to call out this sinner for sinning, right? Which is something you don't really see Jesus doing. This guy wasn't a religious leader. And so you end up in prison. Then you find yourself full of doubt. Now you're sending your disciples to go ask, are you really the Messiah? You know he's the Messiah. You got yourself in prison going off to do a side mission. You know you're the prophesied one. The voice crying out in the wilderness. But now it's like almost tying it back to the subject, this moment of insecurity. Now you want to ask, are you really the Messiah? Because you got yourself in a situation, which we do all the time. I do all the time. I get myself in these situations and then they're like, are you really my God? Yeah, he was God the whole time. Did anybody tell you to go off the side quest? So it's like, what are you focusing on? Do you feel like you are fighting injustices in the world? If oppression and racism, really was a problem in America, and you're fighting against the oppression and the racism. Let's say you were able to stop all oppression and racism. Let's throw homelessness in there too, right? 3 things you can never stop in the world ever. They've been here since the beginning of time. They're going to be here till forever, right? But let's say you magically were able to stop these things that you're fighting to stop, right? And you could go and say, man, I accomplished all 3 of these things. This is a great accomplishment. But guess what? All them people still going to hell. You didn't lead nobody to Christ. You so worried about what's going on. Everything, all this stuff on earth is temporal. You see what I'm saying? You could take a homeless person off the street, but then if they end up burning in the lake of fire for all eternity, did you really help them? And I'm not saying that, Jesus helped people in practical ways too. He fed people, he healed people. And so I'm not saying that we shouldn't focus on these things at all. I'm just saying sometimes we're focused on the things that we're focused on because we have an inferiority complex and we feel less than. So we project and think that everybody else feels less than. And then we feel like we got to fight on behalf of a group of people that never asked us to fight for them. Takes a little bit of self-observation and self-awareness to really find out, where you at on this. And I am preaching to the choir because I am coming from a place in my life where I did have an inferiority complex and I was insecure as a Christian, as a man. And so it caused me to respond in certain ways or to react in certain ways or even just act in certain ways, thinking I was justified not knowing there was a deeper issue. Think about that. I hope this helps somebody. God bless y'all. Let me know what you think.